Alrighty, good morning everybody. Happy Friday. It's October 25th, 2024. We didn't have a broadcast yesterday, so I'd like to go back and take a look at what happened on, I believe, Wednesday's market, and then we'll look at what happened yesterday for Thursday of this week. So let's go ahead and scoot on back. And really, I think the most amazing thing that happened on Wednesday was we got a sell-off. Let me just show you the higher time frames here. We had this big push higher, right, from the scene of the crime right off our roadmap level here, held for like 3, 4, 5 days in a row. Got the big breakout and then the pullback. So on Wednesday, we pulled back, I mean, within 3 or 4 ticks of the 61.8 retracement. You know, and how common do we see these moves in the market? Push, pull back to the 61.8, and now here we are trying to bounce again, right? So on Wednesday, that was the major low of the day. They came right to the 61.8 retrace, broke it by maybe 3 or 4 ticks there, and then we got the push out. So let's look at what happened. On Wednesday morning, we did have our broadcast, and I told you guys that we did have a lot of clues for a bearish pullback, right? The main bullet points on the news report, we're talking about the bears having a lot of clues, and sure enough, Wednesday was a very, very heavy day up until they found that support off the 61.8. So again, there's a reason I use fibs, because they work like this over and over again. Now, does it hold every fib level perfectly every time? No, and that's what makes trading so difficult. So let's look at what happened here. The market opened, what do you know, our first roadmap level was the major resistance for the first half hour of the market. They tested it sometimes to the tick there. There was even that beautiful kiss of the 200 right at the roadmap level. And then you can see a little bit later on in the morning, of course, they had to come back. I bet some people got short there and then were unable to capture their larger targets because it came right back, broke through by just a couple ticks again. If you try to short there, another great short opportunity, and then we got the continuation to the downside. So market opens, holds the first roadmap level. How many mornings do we see that happen? And then we get the pullback. As you can see, they tried just shy to tag that 200, continued selling off, obviously got through the previous daily low, and then got through the next roadmap level, came up right to the back end of it, and for a couple minutes there, for about a half hour maybe, they could not really get through the next roadmap level, barely breaking it by 1.5 points there, right? So we did get kind of a 2-point push through at one point, and then they continued on their merry way lower. We did have a major swing right here that I told you guys might act as a support if the bears do come down there, but as you guys can see, let's zoom in and take a look here. They just chugged right through it and then came back to the back end of it, gave it a kiss for this pullback. And then there is another beautiful tag of the 200, right? We had the crossover right there. We have the continuation to lower prices. We break the previous support, which, by the way, guys, if you are mapping this out while you're trading, which you should be, this was the previous support in the market here, right? Where it held and held and held and held for about an hour. Then we got the breakout from there, or the breakdown, and there is your tag of the back end of the 200, right? So another opportunity to try a short from there. And then we can go ahead and zoom out and look. They came down through that next retracement area, not holding it, right? Kind of like earlier. They just kind of went right through the 38 retrace, right through the 50 retrace, but did hold the back end of it there beautifully. And then you got the test of the next roadmap level here that then led to the breakdown again down into that major 61.8 retrace. And as you can see, pretty aggressive on this whole push most of the time, holding that fast moving average, you know, maybe getting through it by a couple ticks, couple points, and then coming right back down. Now on the other side of things here, when the bulls jump back in right off the 61.8, Groundhog's Day, we've got this beautiful ride up the fast moving average for this rally going into the end of the day. So if we just look at that, beautiful hold of the fast moving average the whole damn way up. Almost came right back to the 200 for that pullback. And then at the end of the day there, as they continued to ride that fast moving average the whole time, they came back. And at the end of the day, in the extended trading hours, if you wanted to, you got yourself another tag of the 200 pretty much to the tick. So a decent long opportunity there to finish the day out. And then as you can see, they petered out right at the VWAP. Again, not a surprising thing to see either. So that brought us into the overnight session that was going into Thursday morning, where we were not doing our broadcast. So we can take a look and see what happened here in the overnight session. Wednesday's overnight session, once again, held the 200 moving average to the tick. And then we got the continuation in the direction of the overarching trend from the day before. And again, held the top end of the VWAP on the pullbacks. Even held, if you want to argue, the 50% of the previous day. So they popped out off the 200, came and held 50% of the day before, VWAP, and then you can see it stepped up to that next roadmap level to push, and then a little bit further on, quite literally a couple minutes, or I guess a half hour before this printed, we got the pullback right here, and then it petered out right up above that holy orange power level. And then that brought us into yesterday's market. And if you remember in my news report that I released, let me just review something there. Pretty sure we said that there was some bullish signs obviously from that 61.8 retrace. And so for the bulls, we wanted to see them get back up above the SNR and the 61.8 retrace level. But if the bears could pull price back below the previous daily close right here, it was a clue that we might go ahead and revisit those lower prices. So, and that the bears were still in control after that bullish rally we just saw. So coming out of the open here yesterday, it was pretty choppy up in this area. And I guess not surprising when you have roadmap levels all stacked a couple points away from each other. Not surprising to see them chop around and back and forth inside of it. So it was pretty messy there for the first couple hours of the market. But what I would say here, first of all, is all this stuff in here was not a great spot to be trading. You could have tried a short off the 200 here as we were pulling back, but didn't quite get anywhere. It came to the fast moving average and came back. So that would have been a clue if you got short that was probably not going to work out as it popped right back up. You could have tried a short from VWAP. That actually would have been a good trade. But again, it just meandered back and forth, didn't do a whole lot, right? You could have tried buying 50% again. And again, it didn't really go anywhere, right? So there were a lot of little rotations in here, just not getting a lot of steam. You know, you could have tried buying the previous daily close, but missed by a tick. And then when it bounced, came right to the 50% level. So just not a whole lot of follow through one way or the other. However, this is the type of trade I love. When I'm sitting here watching the market, just meandering back and forth, we're stuck in a range, and then this happens. We get the breakdown, right? So we're all morning, we're holding above previous daily close. Again, that was the line in the sand I mentioned in our news report. We want to see the bears hold below the previous daily close. So from there, we get the breakdown, right? So it's holding previous daily close, hold previous daily close, hold previous daily close. We get a lower high in that progression, and then bam, the breakdown. And that right there is my kind of trade, right? We're sitting here watching them hold all morning, getting choppy, making lower highs, and then finally we get that lower low, and bam, there's the first tag of the 200 with a huge divergence going on. And from there, you would have got yourself a beautiful trade. Now, if I was short from the 200, I would have taken profit right in front of that 61.8 retrace, right? Is this the 61? Actually, I take that back. I would have taken profit right there, right around, in this case, this I believe was either the 38 or the 50 of the leg. I think it was the 50. So I would have taken profit right in front of there, and maybe I would have gotten about 12 points, right, if I held for that. If you got short off the fast moving average, still a decent scalp if you were trying for lower prices, right? Definitely would have got more than 5 points out of it, but then it came back. So a decent scalp from there. And like I said, probably the sexiest trade to happen yesterday was that short right there off the 200. It's also, if you look, right where that previous ledge in the market was, right? So we held from there, finally broke down through it and came back and tagged it. Well, we missed it by a tick. And then got big divergence, 200 moving average, a whole bunch lining up there for you to try a short going in the direction of what was happening. And you would have got a beautiful trade there. Rest of the day, like I said, it was very choppy up in this area from the previous daily close to basically the holy orange power level, the upper level here. Inside of there, very, very choppy. And what do you know? When they pushed all the way back out, came back up, it just chopped around inside there. So nothing super sexy going on. If you tried the first tag of the 200 right there after the crossover, it did give you a very, very small scalp. But once again, notice what happened. They came up and held the back end of the fast moving average. And if you were still in it on the pullback and it came back again, there's that next tag and it came back. So if you were long from there, should have been a clue that, hey, maybe this isn't going to work out. This is now a third rejection from the 50% level, right? So trying that first tag of the 200 might have gotten you a little 2-3 point scalp. But then obviously all these failures should have been a clue to get out of that trade. And so, like I said, end of the day, pretty choppy inside of there. And then that's how it basically closed. So you zoom out to that last extended trading hour. And as you can see, still just chopping around, excuse me, inside of that range I just talked about from the previous daily close to the holy orange power level. So yes, there were some decent rotations in here. They did hold the back end of this roadmap level as they pulled back. They did hold the 200 in this instance to the tick almost. They did hold the VWAP, but overall pretty messy from there. So really, I think the most notable thing about yesterday was that short opportunity once the market started to show its face. And then from there, it was pretty difficult inside of that pocket. So that brings us here into the overnight session from last night, where once again on the pullback, the bulls defended 50% of the day before, and now they are trying to continue to push back up to the all-time high area. So on this push higher, notice what's been happening here. We've been stepping right up each roadmap level. I mean, quite literally. Now this wasn't here. I have to bring this back. That was not there at that time, right? So we did step up each level here. There's the previous daily close and our roadmap level. And now here we are coming up to try and break out through yesterday's high. So looking good for the bulls so far ever since the low of yesterday. That brings us now to do our higher time frames here and see what they have to say for this morning. So